Hello, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. Welcome to Wednesday Night Symbaroum. It's what we do on Wednesdays with our life now, apparently, and you get to watch it. Lucky you. So, before I bring on people for starting up the recap train and all that fun stuff, let's get that awkward promo out of the way. If you look below this stream, you'll see a number of links to YouTube and Twitch. Those are the two sites we are mainly on. If you want to catch us live or on Twitch, if you want to catch us later, catch us in the act in our archives, then check out YouTube. Lots of stuff on there. You can also find links to our social media, our Discord, on our Patreon. Those all do the things you might expect them to do. Get involved if that feels like something that will excite you thoroughly. Okay. That's enough of that. We're running a number of weekly campaigns at the moment. Monday nights is Vason with Johnny and the Monday Crew. Wednesdays is Symbaroum, Witchhammer at the moment, which we are rapidly coming towards the end of. And then Thursdays at the moment is fortnightly Wicked Ones game with the returning Big Wet. They'll kind of be alternating with it fortnightly, but that won't be for at least another month now. Delayed due to further life reasons, or the same life reasons as last time, but they didn't wrap up quite as quickly as was first anticipated. We also try to run a one-shot every month, which went really well up until about August this year, and then collapsed into further, again, life issues. But we have got some coming up soon on November the something, November the 12th. Yeah, Sunday, November the 12th. I will be running a one-shot of indie TTRPG Grok. And then I think tentatively on the 3rd of December at the moment will be Johnny's Space Zulu installment. So keep your eyes peeled for those. And in the meantime, if we can entertain you before those one shots, then let's try some of that entertainment tonight. Let's bring on our first player of the evening. It is Chris. Chris plays Steo, former infantryman and city guard turned slightly reluctant adventurer with a conscience. Chris, why don't you give us a rundown on Witchhammer so far?
Fudge all that noise. I'm going to talk about Queen Corinthia for about 5 minutes. So Alberator, the original nation from which kind of the Ambrian people came from, was struck by the machinations of the Dark Lords, who raised basically an undead army and caused a great deal of trouble. Princess Corinthia was raised up to queen when her father was killed in that war, and only barely survived herself, being, as I understand, greatly disfigured. The land of Alberator was basically turned into a land of death. Crops would no longer grow. Life was fleeing. And so Queen Corinthia brought her people, the Ambrians, over the Titans and into the north, into the great fields of what we now know as Ambria. Upon arrival, she was briefed by the locals that the Ambrian people were subject to an agreement called the Iron Pact, which basically says, don't go into the forest, please. There's been enough trouble here, which you kind of caused 1 million generations ago. To which she promptly said, saw that, and kind of began adventuring in earnest, or at least encouraged adventuring in earnest. The crux of this was the discovery of several tablets, which this party have actually held in their hands, saying that, which basically, in what could be described as a bawdy kind of news sheet style kind of fairy tale story, not exactly kind of well crafted, lay out the fact that one day the Ambrians will return over the hills and will claim the legacy of Symbar as rightfully theirs. And like all imperialists, Queen Corinthia loves a bit of manifest destiny, and this has kind of become the centerpiece of the kind of Ambrian cult of supremacy, I suppose, for want of maybe slightly more subtle wording. To this end, Queen Corinthia has had an interest in Davokar in general, the cursed forest that has sprung up out of the ruins of this more ancient civilization. but specifically in its capital, Symbar, the titular Symbar. And our party, by a great misfortune, seemed to be in the front runner of the most recent pseudo gold rush to find a route to this ancient city, which it seems is stored in plain sight beneath the plateau of Carvosti, where the indigenous northerners have built their pseudo capital or meeting place, I suppose would be a better word for it. And now that this trail is heated up, Corinthia has played her hand, and by hand I mean army, and is, it seems, in the process of laying siege to Carvosti to get by force what we were maybe trying to get by guile.
Yeah, that's about it. And I'll give, when we bring everyone on, I'll finish off the recap with a bit of an update on exactly what happened last week. But thank you, Chris, for that lovely. I think the players are getting bored of recapping the story of Witchhammer at the moment, so basically treating you to nuggets of Symbaroum lore, which I don't mind at all, as long as at the end of it they go, and also we're looking for Simba. So there we go. Exciting stuff. Let's bring on our next player tonight. It's John. John plays Sir Arindar, last scion of House Dar, kind of naive duelist and adventurer. I keep just saying naive, which is just to separate him out from the others, because Arindar still believes there's some good in the world. John, how are you? And how is Arin? And do you still believe there's some good in the world?
I'm doing good. I like how our recaps are getting more abstract and deconstructed, and are also becoming a really convenient place for lore exposition dumps. I think that's quite useful. I think more TV series should do that. What was the second question?
Do you? I mean, I said, how is Arindar? I also said, do you believe there's some good in the world?
Arindar is having many emotions that he's not entirely sure what to make of them at the moment, following the events of the last episode. So I'll hold back on those until the recap is fully finished. And I do believe there is still good in the world, because there are cats. You can't look at a sleeping cat lying in a sunbeam in the window, with its chest slowly raising, lowering, and the little toe beans pointing towards you, and not tell me that there is some good in the world.
That's fair enough. But is it worth fighting for?
Yes.
Okay.
But very quietly,
okay,
so that you don't wake them up.
Sure. You see, my opinion on that is sort of like when Sam says that in the Peter Jackson trilogy, there's some good in the world and it's worth fighting for. I remember when I first watched it, because I enjoyed those films a lot when they came out. I still enjoy them to a slightly lesser degree, but I remember when those came out, when that line dropped, which I'm pretty sure is not a line from Tolkien because it's very clumsy, being so deflated by that line, feeling kind of cliche, and the screen immediately cuts to Smeagol / Gollum, kind of going. And I was like, yeah, that's how I felt, Gollum. So without any further ado, the logical next step is to bring on our third player after that brief diversion. And it's Sam. He's usually last, but tonight he's not. Hi, Sam. Sam plays Ascarai, our resident archer, ranger, scout, changeling man. Sam, how are you? And what part of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy leaves you a little bit?
Obviously, the part where I realized that the Eagles could have flown into Mordor, right, Matt? Right? That's the thing. Why didn't the Eagles?
Don't you get me started.
I'm doing good. I'm extremely happy to not be last for once. What a day. I'm going to remember this forever.
Yeah, this is going to be something to tell your grandchildren. Okay, let's bring on the our final player, Stephen. Stephen plays Alindra, former Templar novice turned hacker of things with a big sword. I'm trying to link each of these, Stephen. So, Stephen, what are you going to tell your grandchildren?
I was entirely unprepared for that question.
Oh, good.
Oh, like Legolas surfing the door down the staircase. That's what I'm going to tell my grandchildren.
That's sure you're going to tell Sean.
That might be the answer to the previous person's question, but
it still, it still counts.
That is a thing that Legolas did, grandchildren, and he shouldn't have.
Yeah,
it is not canon.
And they'll never invite you to their school play ever again.
Exactly.
You climb on stage and shout that.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Let's do the recap for last session. Essentially, you had found most of the pieces of most of the kind of clues that will lead you to the location of the entrance to the tunnels under Karvosti. And you made your way back to the plateau of Karvosti via not the fastest route, but not the slowest either. You kind of had to circle around the edge of Lake Volgoma on a ship that had been left behind that you persuaded the Zarex to crew for you in exchange for the ship itself. You traded some Garug bear cubs to the Bayaga for basically their eternal gratitude and not much else right now. Well, there was a big grilled deer. There was that too. And then you found yourself back at Karvosti, where you stumbled across the Ambrian army camp, kind of confirming that the army had indeed been raised to be sent to Karvosti. And then as you sort of entered and were kind of seen but let through by some guards on patrol, you saw that the herald of Queen Corinthia herself was proceeding up the ramp towards the plateau of Karvosti and essentially said, hello, High Chieftain, you have 3 days to surrender the information regarding the whereabouts of Symbar, or we're going to annex Karvosti by force. So yeah, that's where we left off. Happy days. Good positive times. Okay. I see no reason to have any other kind of preamble. Let's pick up exactly where we left off. I think I've said you were on the kind of very kind of outskirts of the camp. I'm going to say you're still outside the walls of it because it does have sort of freshly cut timber walls. No lack of trees for cutting down to make such things. Hearing Davakar. Yeah.
Is there a gate? Is there an entranceway?
There is an entranceway. It's not got an actual gate on it, but it is very heavily guarded. There's a guard post by it with probably a good 20 or so soldiers, and people are kind of moving in and out of it.
I guess we better head inside. Degessa, do you think Josephia will be inside this camp or somewhere else?
Honestly, I've got no idea. One would have to imagine that if she wants to be found by us, she'll be in the camp.
The scout did say that the sellsword's in the camp, so would make sense.
No, there'll be many who want to hire their blade out to the crown.
I don't think we want to just march in there as a group.
You think going separately?
Yeah. Ascari, I think, yourself and Tegesto. Who else met Josephia?
Me?
Was it just you? I thought...
I feel like those are the opposite of the people who should be going in. We've got, a priest, a former Templar. I think those people will be very welcome in an Ambrian camp. A changeling and a person perhaps not loved by the Queen's Rangers maybe should be staying outside.
Technically wanted.
It's nice to be
wanted.
I don't know. I haven't seen a bounty poster in a while.
maybe best to stay outside.
Hmm.
We
It
want to
looks
do
like
this
chaos in there.
Who else knows what Eusebia looks like?
thing. Yeah,
We've
I
met
was
her.
there. Yeah, we met her.
Okay. Alindra? Me, maybe? I think we'll fit in best of all.
Anton surely would
Look,
volunteer.
I can see the purpose in going in separately to not be seen as a group, but what else are we going to do? Stand out here? That will draw more attention than moving among the crowd, won't it?
Why don't we just, well, do we want to go in as a group or do we want to go in and separate just to see if we can cover the camp faster and then arrange
about
to
we-
meet up?
We go in, we separate, and we meet wherever the center of this camp is. There's bound to be one. There always is.
Yeah, we'll meet wherever they're selling the ale, I suppose.
Agreed.
All right. DeGesto, for reasons of ease for me, nods and walks into the camp with Malamai. The guards kind of share a brief word with him, but kind of nothing more, and then wave him past.
Right. Alindra, me and Anton, and you two follow up after.
Sure.
Give us
Is
about...
Revelia going?
Yeah, I'd say Revelia will go with Alindra, yeah.
I will take off. I have like a brooch with a Dar symbol on it and the Dar family sword, and I will take off the brooch and sort of wrap the sword so that the hilt is slightly less recognizable,
Sure.
just in case.
I think
Absolutely.
I think we said that the Garug had like removed the last of like Ilindra's kind of shredded tabard.
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
it's you don't have a tabard on the front anymore. I think we
Yeah,
said, yeah.
That's why it's going to completely change like into a random Ambrian looking person if he can. Yes, we're all against Resolute to do it, but that's a 2, so a success. It's
Okay,
like
I'm assuming he like does that and then takes his mask off,
Yeah.
so people don't see him change. or anything.
yeah, looks like a
Yeah.
normal Ambrian sellsword.
Great, sure. So, if in terms of our group, then it's Steo, Elindra, Revelia, and Anton, and then Aaron and Askarai. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Well, Steo came up with the plan first. Let's say that group goes up to the gate first. The guards at the gate, who were all wearing livery of House Kohinoor, which is like a flaming pine tree. One of them steps forward and, in a kind of a bored voice, says, "State your business, gents."
Sell swords, looking to find out what's going on here, see if we can be some use.
Sell swords from where?
Well, we've been in the forest a while. Came as quite a shock to see all these outside Carvasti, but look, there's money to be made.
He kind of looks over you all and then goes, "You a sellsword as well, father?" And Anton like pauses a moment and kind of taps the flail slung to his back, and says, "Prios can be an angry god, my child." The guard kind of nods and says, "All right then, in you go. Don't cause any trouble." Steo and Elindra, can you both give me discreet rolls, please?
Sure. Ooh, passed.
Okay. There we go. All right. Askarai, Arendar, and presumably Farron. How long are you waiting out of interest before you head in?
I think we'd want to wait a while. I kind of Is there like a
Nice,
stream
yeah.
of people coming in, or is it more like
A slow stream, yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to make this easier.
no?
Which
That's
side?
fair. I think if there's a lot of people coming in, then I think we could wait like 5 minutes. If there's very few, there maybe half an hour. I don't know what Aaron thinks.
It's
More-
enough for 5 minutes, I think. Yeah.
Okay. More like we want a number of people to go in before us, kind of thing.
Oh, there'll definitely be like a good if you wait 5 minutes, there's a group of people going in maybe every minute or so,
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that sounds about right.
all coming out. Okay. Yeah, you get the same business from the guard. Steps forward. All right, lads. What's your business here?
Sell sword. Heard there's coin to be made. Glory to win.
I don't know about glory today, but there's the Queen's coin for sure if you're good with a blade.
That
Where
we
are you
are.
from?
Inderos.
Good. Bit of an accent there I did pick up. All right, in you go.
I'll head on in.
Did not fall into my trap of them hearing Askarai talk with a definitely not an Ambrian accent. Can you both give me discrete rolls, please?
Yep.
That's a no.
That's our first no. Let me just do a bit of marking of something down here. Nothing you need to worry about.
Definitely not running a clock.
Definitely not. Let's cut back to Chris and Steve. So you are in the camp. From the gate, there seems to be a kind of long, winding path between various tents to somewhere ahead where you can see like a large flame sputtering and licking over like the tops of some tents. Like it looks like someone has built a very big fire. There also seems to be a great kind of density of people further forward towards there, which you can see from an increase in kind of campfire smoke and also just people. The entire camp is very loud. There's people talking, people shouting. You can hear somewhere nearby. There's must be some blacksmiths. You can hear the ringing of their hammers. You can hear like people calling to like try and sell food and various other things. Everywhere around you are soldiers dressed in the livery of various different noble houses and duchies. What are you going to do? Like the camp will have some structure to it, but all you can see from here is what looks like a central fire and a load of paths spilling out every way.
God, this takes me back.
It really does. This is a very Ambrian army camp.
This kind of thing was a bit before my time. If you were Josefia, where would you be?
In the pub, where everyone is.
Yeah.
Points towards the fire.
Wherever the most people are going to go, right? Because you can be found there by us and also hopefully blend into the crowd.
Fingers crossed. Prios knows how long we have before we're spotted, I suppose. But we make I'd say we do a loop. I want to take a look at some of these spearmen, see what they do for a living these days, and then.
So you're gonna kind of move round the camp and then come at the central point from the other side. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I think that's what I would.
Yes.
Just on a mission of sheer nosiness.
Sure. Yeah. Just to fulfill my own, because I have the camp layout in my head. Are we going kind of clockwise? So you've come in from the west, right? So you're around the middle of the camp. Holding this pen like this does nothing.
We'll go south. We'll go anti-clockwise.
So you
south.
kind of come in here. Although, oh god, the image. Right, yeah, you'll go counterclockwise south. Yeah, sure. Okay. Well then, The first thing that happens, let me randomize something a second, which is, I'm sure, what you want to hear. Let me. Oh God, what's happening? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. The first thing that happens is that you enter, after just walking a short distance, what seems to be, in a fairly typical manner for an Ambrian camp. It's kind of set out where each kind of grouping of soldiery have their own area of the camp. You encounter this a lot in the days of the war in Alberator, Chris. However, in Alberator, they wouldn't have been laid out like this because there weren't duchies in the same way that there are here. But this is how this is set out. You enter very quickly what is clearly the Duchy of Saragon's area of the camp. For the purposes of placing where Saragon is, because we don't normally talk about the duchies that much, you can, for example, see a lot of troops here from Castor, which is the largest city in Saragon. And then I assume we're not kind of pausing here in any way.
Yeah, especially not if I see kind of some tabards I would recognize from the Castor grouping. I would probably just kind of hustle through.
You know what? They're probably not, because you would have recognized like the town guard, like the Castor guards, right? But they're not the people who are here. These are soldiers, not guards. So I'm going to say they're more likely to be like the Duke's personal army. And the Duke didn't get in. The Duke wasn't in Castor. You don't know where the Duke lives. Maybe he lives in Castor, maybe he doesn't. But he wasn't there when you were there. So anyway, okay, you proceed through the Saragon camp then and onwards. Why don't you give me both another discrete roll, please? That's a no.
Fail.
Elendra.
Yes, for me.
Okay.
Advance the clock.
Advance the clock. No. So then you come to an area and you kind of, well, it's up to you. You could try. The whole southern part of the camp seems to have an inner wall around it. And beyond that inner wall, you can see a number of very large, much more lavish looking tents, many of which are like emblazoned with the sigils of certain houses, the heraldry of certain houses. The people walking around in there seem to be dressed a lot nicer than everyone out here. You can see a number of people in Ordo robes. You can see maybe a couple of sun priests, but also people who look to be either of the household of nobles or nobles themselves. It's clear this is where kind of the elite of the army are. There are gaps in the wall that people are guarding. You could see people going in and out. And they're kind of looking them up and down before they do so, and maybe asking them a couple of things. But it's not kind of like a hard and fast, this is only for nobles or anything like that. But people don't seem to be just wandering in and out. They seem to be going in and out with a purpose. And basically, unless you want to try and go in, you're going to have to skirt this inner wall and kind of like move around the south part of the camp that way.
I'm all up for skirting.
Yeah. Yozefia will not be in there.
Nothing good will be in there, just politics and problems.
That's absolutely fair enough. Can you both give me a discrete roll, please?
That's a pass.
Oh,
I don't have a very high discrete, so this is purely down to just dice rolls being lucky more often than not.
solid.
Actually, I'm gonna this may involve a bit of backtrack thinking, right? If I gave everyone if I gave everyone a blanket +2 on those rolls, would any of them have been passed that were failed?
No, the one I
Okay.
I failed by quite a long way.
Okay.
The one I
I'm gonna
failed, I
give-
rolled a 19.
Fair enough. I'm going to give everyone a blanket +2 as long as you're separated. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. I probably should have done that from the beginning, but it doesn't matter because we've still failed those 3 rolls. But just for future reference, there we go.
We're all
Okay.
going to jail.
The next part of the camp that you encounter as you circle around to the south is it's going to be another duchy's area. Incidentally, in the Saragon camp, you saw a lot of horses stabled and a lot of people with a kind of basically there were a lot of like lances and long spears like resting up against the sides of tents in a way that made you think that for whatever reason there seemed to be a lot of cavalry there from Saragon. The next area you enter seems to be the camp of the Duchy of Merverdun, which we have never been to, but is essentially Indaros is on a split where is basically where the River Doudram and Nora meet, and also is essentially a point where a number of different duchies convene. One of them being Indarian, which is the Queen's Duchy, and one of the others to the east being Merverdun, which is known as being probably the richest of all the duchies due to its huge abundance of trade goods that it fuels the rest of Ambria with. You probably neither of you know particularly a lot about Merverdun other than that, but this is the camp for Merverdun. You can see a lot of scattered soldiery with no particular kind of theme to their utility in any way. And then you reach what you think is the opposite point on the camp to where you came in. Part of what indicates that to you is there's another entrance. They seem to have put them at like, if not at cardinals, then at least like there's an east and a west one. Astia, this is again familiar to you.
Out of interest, just so I can orientate myself, like if we were to leave this camp with the intention of walking up to Karvosti, which way would we go?
You would go back the way you came.
Okay, it's the like that west entrance is near the path up.
Yeah, because so the path up is at the north of the plateau, and this camp is just to the east of that ramp up.
Got it.
So if you leave the camp where you are now at the east gate, what it looks like
background, yeah.
And it looks out there that the main reason for this east gate is that this is where they've chopped down a huge amount, a great number of trees.
Yeah.
In order to build various things. You can see out there. You can see there are still loggers out there kind of hacking away and stacking stuff. So that seems to be the main purpose for that. So
like
if you left here, you'd have to if you left here, you'd have to circle either north or south to come back to Karvosti. Yeah.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Have I asked for a discrete roll for going through the Merverdun camp yet? I don't think I have I? Give me that discrete roll at a +2.
That's a pass.
Nice.
We're just rolling for the player characters, right?
Yeah, just for you.
That's my fail.
That's your fail. That's your fail. I don't know why.
Totally should not have just like run around the entire camp here. This was the worst thing I could have done.
I'm still, bitches.
I thought it was going to be crowded. I didn't.
At this point, are you heading towards the center? Is that?
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, sure. Okay, while you're heading to the center, let's find out what the others have done. So Arindar and Askarai, you entered a few minutes after the others. Obviously, by the time you came in there, they're well gone. They're probably at the south side of the camp by now. But the same scene greets you. What are the two of you doing?
Good job, Aaron. I don't think they paid any attention to us. I guess we head towards the middle of the camp.
I think, that's not much. Well, do we want to look around? No, let's find Yosefia. Let's go.
So you just head towards the center. Well, it's not too far from where you are, and when you reach it, you see that a great bonfire has been lit and is being maintained in a clearing near the center of camp, around which many soldiers are gathered away from their own duchy's tents. Very close by on one side is what looks like an impromptu and large tavern tent. It has it looks shambolic and popular. There are what look like several officers stood outside, hawkishly watching the soldiery going in and out. There is a sign of a somewhat vicious-looking bird outside, swinging between two long spears. I'd like you both to give me a cunning roll at +3.
Yep.
You have seen this sign before. The last time you saw it, it was swinging outside the Victorious Hawk, which is the tavern at the Viara outpost from earlier in the story.
Okay.
There's also what looks to be an improvised sun church on the opposite side of the fire, a large tent. It is attended by some theurgs and novices, though not too many from the look of it, maybe scattered 3 or 4 of them. Otherwise, there is a great many of the soldiers just sat around in this general clearing in groups. It's very loud here, the hubbub, and it's not quite, it's like a popular but not incredibly packed gig. That's my reference for the crowd here, right? You can make your way through people and you can do it without squeezing through people, but people are going to get nudged, right? That's the kind of density of people here. And they're all talking. You know, you can hear aggressive conversations, you can hear friendly ones, you can hear people laughing, you can hear people kind of speaking very doom and gloom terms about what the witches are going to do to them. All sorts is going on, but it seems this is kind of the gathering place for the camp. And I would like you both to roll discreet, please, at +2.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. There we go. I would also like both of you to roll vigilant at a -5.
Yep.
Nope.
For the 4.
Yep. Okay. Can you roll me a d6, please, Askarai?
A D6. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 6.
That is a 6. And could you, on top of that, just roll a flat discreet, please?
Okay, a flat discreet. That's a 13. That's a 20.
Well, then, in that case,
God.
as you're moving, where would you think you'd be going from here?
I think looking for Yosefia would probably be heading to like the Victorious Hawk, most likely. Unless Aaron has a different idea.
Wouldn't Askarai... I'm just thinking about this because you look nothing like Askarai. So wouldn't you have like an extra bonus to any discrete rolls? I mean, a 20 wouldn't change it anyway.
I mean, it depends what we're discreting here.
That's very true.
The other thing is that the changeling thing that I can do lasts for a scene. So perhaps at some point, I don't know how big the camp is, but perhaps at some point it's worn off and it's changed. I'm not sure how long.
It's a very good point, John. But I would also say Sam has not yet failed a discrete roll, but I should have taken that into account. Yeah, and we will do so. He failed this one, but with a 20, which
nothing's going to change that.
Although it does raise a good. You know what? I'll shift it slightly to accommodate. Ascarai, as you're moving through the crowd, presumably towards the Victorious Hawk, you nudge someone a bit harder than you intended. Not in a violent kind of way, but definitely harder than you intended. And he kind of shuffles to the side a bit and goes, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry," and turns around and looks at you. It's Semmel, the Iron Pact agent that you worked with both in Davakar and in Castor. And he kind of squints at you. He's still wearing kind of like he has some quite expensive looking eyeglasses, and he kind of squints, looks at you. Are you still wearing your cloak?
Yeah, probably would be, to be fair.
Well, then the discreet of 20 gives me all I need, and he knows you're a changeling. He kind of like takes a step back and says, "Ascarai?"
What does Semmel look like? Is he dressed like for war? Is he still dressed like
No. He's dressed as he looks like maybe he's like a clerk or something. Camps have all kinds of individuals, or like someone here in the train selling things or something. He's still dressed as he always does, in a kind of like sort of nondescript linen shirt and trews with these sorts of like, he's quite like an academic looking fellow, in quite a boring way. But he's here and he's recognized you.
Okay, I mean, Astray quite like Semmel. I think Astray would say quietly in a whisper, as Semmel has addressed him. Yes, but keep it to yourself. We're heading to the tavern. If you want to talk, we can talk in there, and we'll continue. We'll say that, but we'll continue moving through this crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. And he'll kind of wide-eyed say, "All right then, let's do that," and we'll kind of follow you through. As he like Arindar, I assume you've seen this kind of interaction happen. As he like walks like alongside you, he kind of looks over at you, says, "Oh, my name is Semmel," and holds his arm out. Because you haven't met him, right?
I haven't. I open my mouth to respond and then just go, "Pleased to meet you." Say
Yes.
nothing else.
Of course. Yes. He looks baffled but accommodating. And you both make your way into or towards the Victorious Hawk. Can you both give me discrete rolls, please? +2 for Arindar and +5 for Ascarai.
That is a fail from me.
It's a pass.
I rolled 14 with a target of 11.
Close.
She's writing a lot of stuff down, my friends. I think this might be the end for us.
Both just taken out of the camp and shot. You approach the Victorious Hawk. I'd say that you're well ahead of Elindra and Steo in terms of kind of like the time this is all taking. So we'll head straight in there, I think. As I say, there are a number of officers outside who are kind of hawkishly watching the soldiers, presumably for signs of excessive drinking and troublemaking. And as indeed you're watching, a particularly rambunctious individual in the livery of Thistlehold gets hauled off and away. She's kind of like shouting that it wasn't her fault, he started it, etc., etc. But they don't seem to care in the slightest. The Victorious Hawk, or the what is being labelled the Victorious Hawk, is very packed. Which means you can find a place to sort of lean or to sit, but you're rammed up against other people, which means there are plenty of people to overhear, but also it's very loud. Once you are in there, can you both give me, please, a vigilant roll at -5?
Yep.
Okay. Ascarai, well done again. Give me give me a D2 roll, however you want to do that.
Okay. Or a
Otherwise known as a
D4.
coin flip. Yeah.
That's a 2, so I guess a 1. That'd be 2.
Oh god, how confusing. You notice that the woman behind the bar is Irella, Brother Bartho's other half.
Oh god. I think I would point that out to Aaron and say, let's avoid the bar and try and make our way to a table. If there's any tables free that have the best kind of view of the area that we're in, the tavern bar area that we're in.
Or why don't you both give me a cunning roll and see how well you secure an area for yourself in this packed environment?
Okay. I rolled a 2.
I didn't roll a 20, but I failed so badly that I at first misread my dice. So that's just a no.
I rolled a 40. Fair enough. So yeah, but thanks to Ascarai, you managed to find there's no corners because it's a tent. But like you find an area where kind of one of the tent poles is that has a little clear space underneath it that has like a couple of boxes to sit on, and as you look around you see a couple of people leaving from there, and you manage to slink through and grab yourself some boxes to sit on as you do so. And as you do so, hey, you know what's coming. The Victorious Hawk is another location. Can you both give me a discrete roll with your respective modifiers, please? That would be a +2 and a +5.
Success.
I rolled a 17, but that just makes it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, Samel kind of sits down alongside you and kind of looks round slightly conspiratorially and leans in and says, why all the secrecy?
I have to say, the 17 does not make it. I'm lying.
Oh, it does not make
17
it.
fails it.
Never mind.
I was still thinking vigilant terms, but
Right.
for discreet it
Right.
fails.
Fair enough.
Well, firstly, Arendar, this is Semel, a collaborator of ours from Cylindra's Hope. Is that the name?
That's indeed where we met, although I prefer to think of our actions in Castor to the chaos that happened at the Hope.
Yeah, that was a more successful venture for certain. Still, a friend of ours, a friend of our group. No. Yeah. A friend. It's good to see you, Semel. Good to see you well. What are you doing here, of all places? I did not expect to find you here.
Well, there are some who need eyes and ears on the situation.
Of course.
Speaking of which, Ascarai, I think there's something you need to tell me, is there not?
There are many things I could tell you, Semel. You will have to be more specific.
To be more specific, I am glad you are no longer wearing the ring, since it does not belong to you.
Well, the ring belongs to me. Perhaps
I don't think its former owner or the people who crafted it would feel that way.
Perhaps not, but regardless, the ring is mine. I still think we are of the same general goals. We have the same goals.
I do not have any doubts on that, Ascarai, since we aided each other so well. But you didn't have to lie to me.
I don't know. Except I take slight offense to that, Semel. I don't feel that I ever did lie to you about my.
A lie of omission, my friend. A lie of omission. It was clear to you that I believed you were part of. It is water under the bridge.
Yeah.
Ascarai, you call this man a friend. Would that be a friend in strife and sorrow?
Yes.
Semmel's eyes definitely flick to you as you say that. I
Yes,
have
that's
been known as such.
I do not know the events in which you two meet, but for reference, we are acquaintances, at least, if not friends.
Well, that is good to know. Well then, what brings you to this camp? And as he says that, we'll cut away to Steo and Alindra. So you walk into the central part of the camp. It is, as I've already described it, it's no different. I'm going to need a couple of +2 discrete rolls from you both, though.
That's 20.
It's one for
Oh,
me.
that's not a success.
That
Oh
is
no.
categorically not a success.
Categorically not a success. Okay. And with that in mind, yeah, well, you know what? Why don't you also give me both vigilant rolls at +5?
Yeah, past that.
Nice. Gonna need a D2 roll from you as well, then, please, Stephen.
Sure.
I failed for the record.
2.
Okay. As you are wandering around the fire, oh, and also, just give me a flat discrete roll as well, just to.
That's also a fail.
Okay. As you are wandering around the fire and kind of taking stock of everything, a voice near you says, "Oh, good afternoon. Elindra, was it? Sir Elindra."
Turn and look.
It is Harold, who, lest we have forgotten, is the guard at the VR outpost, who is the son of Arella,
Okay.
who didn't seem too fond of Bartho.
Yeah. I don't
I
remember the
think I
guy
described him as
specifically,
having
but
like long blonde hair and like a house Viara tabard.
yeah. He wasn't particularly memorable, but I think we were quite memorable on that day, weren't we?
Yes, you were. Yes. I think he helped deal with the aftermath with you. I think the last time you saw him, he was literally striking Bartho as like a sort of threat to take care of his mother.
Yeah. Okay.
Or I can't remember if he maybe struck him or maybe he just like grabbed him and like shook him a bit or something like that. He
Okay.
just wasn't fond of the man.
I guess if we've clocked the tavern and then and we've seen what we've seen in the camp, it's not that surprising that they would be here, right?
No. No.
Hello. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. The outpost is recovering.
Good.
You here to offer your blade to the Queen?
You know us. We'll go where the coin is.
I imagine there's some good coin for this.
Well,
we need
here's hoping.
all the blades we can to get on top of that. He's kind of eyeing up the plateau, which is looming over the camp, obviously.
Sure. Yeah, it seems like it's all going to get exciting in the next few days.
I think so.
So Elinda's going to be kind of looking for an exit from the conversation and kind of pat him on the shoulder and be like, "Good to see you."
Sure.
And try and sort of get away.
Steo, are you going to engage with him in any way, or just?
I don't think so.
Nod and move on? Okay. As you're kind of moving away, and Tom's with you, right?
Yep.
And Tom is going to lean in and say, Bartho?
Yeah, maybe not right now though.
There's every chance in the world that he's here, and we all know what we said we were going to do if we saw him, but I don't think this is the time or the place. I think
Definitely
we best just
time, not the place.
We best just hope that we don't run into him.
And Tom nods. Are we heading into the Victorious Hawk then?
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's start this then with a discrete rolls at +2.
Pass that one.
And that's a glorious pass from Steo right there.
Got a 1.
There we go. And then, you know what? Give me a vigilant. Both of you can give me a vigilant roll at, let's say, -4.
Amazingly, pass that one. You did a 6
Okay.
and I got a 3.
I think I failed with an 11. I'm pretty sure I failed. Yeah.
It's fine. You only need one of you to make it. Yeah, you spot the rest of the group in the corner.
Cool.
Well, not Degesto and Malamai, but yeah.
Yeah, so whilst trying to avoid the impression of making a beeline for them, kind of slink over that way.
Sure, absolutely. Right. I'm going to need now a discrete roll off everyone with no positive modifiers,
So
apart from Ascarai, who can take.
I don't mean to be that guy, but Steel would kind of like to go and see if he can find Degesto before he goes and sticks with the group.
Okay. I mean, so what are you doing with that?
Is Steo saying that out loud? Because
yeah, I think Steel will just be like, "You go ahead. I'm going to try and find Degesto."
Okay. I mean, we haven't found Yosefia, but
maybe Degesto has.
Possibly.
I failed.
So it doesn't matter anymore. We don't need it. So sorry. So what's happening with it? Steo is going off to look for Degesto, but what is Elindra doing?
Elindra is going to join the rest of the group as Steo suggested, and if there was a discrete roll in there somewhere, I just failed it. So I guess
Okay.
will we just
Yeah, that discrete roll was for you all coming back together, and if that's not happening now, then you don't need to do it.
Okay, sure. I mean, yeah. We walked into the tavern, which is a new place, and I don't think we'd done the roll for that one yet anyway, but whatever. Like, it was yeah.
I thought you had.
Okay. Well, then ignore my dice roll.
Okay. But no, but that is important to know. Had you not? I thought I asked for a discrete roll first.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I think that was going to be the roll for, like, entering that location.
Sure. Okay, well then, Steo, I'll need one of you as well, please.
That was the one I got the 1 on, wasn't it?
See, that's what I thought.
It's been a long Wednesday.
Fair enough. So, with that in mind, Steo, how are you looking for Degesto? Just to kind of roaming around this?
Yeah, I suppose sort crowd by largest people first and just kind of eye up all of the truly massive creatures, and one of them's bound to be Degesto.
Sure, absolutely. Well, while you do that, Elindra and presumably Revelia, where's Anton going? Is Anton going with Steo or with Elindra, do we think? Let's split the party in two. Yeah. Anton can go with you.
Yeah, it's not good for someone to wander off completely on their own, right? Like,
absolutely. Elindra, you wander over to Aaron and Askrai, who are sat in the corner with a man you've never seen before.
Okay, I'll kind of like move past where they're sat and try to kind of catch their eye to see if I get a sense of come sit down, or no, go away.
Okay. I think you can definitely catch their eye while you're close. You're fairly tall individual.
Has Ascari got the sense, wandering through this camp? I mean, I think he would have been paying attention to this, that people are noticing or looking at him at all.
They're definitely noticing your somewhat vivid, scaled lindworm cloak.
Okay. I think in that case, he would not be like, "Come on over, Alindra." He'd like meet Alindra's eye, meet her eye, but just be like, "Yeah, probably a good idea for you to be sat one table over from us."
Okay, then yeah, without further eye contact or speech, I will go and sit nearby.
Okay. Well, let's cut to the conversation that we're having then. And why don't you give me a vigilant roll at -3, Alindra, to see how much you catch of this. But yeah, Semler just asked you what you're doing here.
Nothing.
Yeah, you can't hear them. It's too loud.
Well, I mean, presumably similar to what you're doing here, but we've been sort of caught up in it all.
I am here under orders. You're not here under the same orders as me, I can guarantee that.
Well, have you heard about the recent gold rush?
Of course.
Yes, we were there on the night it was announced. And, well, some of us have decided that perhaps getting there in front and stopping anything bad from getting out or in might be a good idea.
Interesting.
Unfortunately, it's quite publicly known that we've been looking into this, and a lot of people are trying to get us on their side.
Which is why I look like this. Ascari gestures to his human-looking face.
See. Well, members of the pact or not, I trust your intentions. I trust Ascari's intentions. I assume the others are around here somewhere. What can I do to help?
We are looking for a friend of ours named Yosefia. I don't know if you've heard of her, seen her around, but
Can't say I have, I'm afraid.
well, that's what we're here for. If you see her or hear of her, we'd be interested.
Aye. All right then.
And if you have any guidance on steps to take before we jump too far and can't get out, we would quite appreciate them. We've been asking, well, Steo, I believe, has been looking for support, guidance, but it's all been quiet.
Who from?
I'm not entirely sure.
Stio is more aligned with you and your cause than we are. I mean, we all are more or less aligned, but Stio, he wears the same ring as you.
I see. Well, I can't imagine he has any actual orders, or he wouldn't be here.
Why do you say that?
Because I'm here. It doesn't help if multiple covert agents are in the same place at once.
No, I think that's something that Stio perhaps is. I think you're probably right.
Well, in any case, since you're here, why don't I get us a drink? Since you seem to be reluctant to head over there yourself. Maybe you'll tell me why. Or maybe not. Either way. He stands off and kind of starts to shuffle through people to get to the bar. Which is just basically a kind of trestle table. Stio, let's hop over to you, shall we? Why don't you give me a vigilant roll at -4, please?
Yeah.
Amazing. You make your way through the mass of people, and you're looking for a large bear-like man. Definitely sort of bears fruit as you kind of see the form of Degesto kind of sat hulkingly at an actual table, like a round table. Nearby, next to him is Malamai, and opposite him are 5 individuals, one of whom is Yosefia. Lest we forget, that is what Yosefia looks like. You recognize 2 of the other individuals as the 2 that she was stood with when you carried out your negotiation. One of them still has a kind of straps around his leg to keep it, to kind of help it heal up. They have not yet seen you, but they seem to be. It all seems to be perfectly cordial.
I think in the interest of not quite trusting anyone involved in this, I'm going to make my way around the table so I'm kind of behind Yosefia's group and just catch Degesto's eye.
Sure, absolutely. I think this is quite a lot of moving around the hawk at this point. So could I have another discreet +2 roll from you, please?
That is
It's
a fail.
It's a fail. Okay. Yeah, you move around until you're in a position where Degesto can see you. He kind of looks around a little. He does notice you and kind of looks away from you for a few seconds and then carries on talking before he kind of leans back on the barrel he sat on and goes,
Yeah, okay. 10 out of 10 for subtlety. I'll shuffle over to him then. Pull up a box or a barrel or whatever's passing by.
Yeah, he loudly says, "Oh, this is free, friends," in a kind of manner in which you'd say to someone you don't perhaps know. Yosefia kind of leans in as you sit down and says, "Sergeant?"
Good evening. Did you ever get the feeling we're being watched?
I mean, I had word that you were in camp a good 5 minutes before Degesto here showed up.
We've been... Look, don't hire us for sneaky shit. Why do I always end up doing sneaky shit?
You're notable individuals.
Okay, so you're here You're who we came into this camp to get. We'd like to get out as soon as possible.
I'd like that as well. There are certain complications. Can you tell me what time it is?
2 hours after dark?
It's a bit earlier than that. It's going dark outside. The camp seals its entrances at nightfall. So it looks like you're here for the evening, unless we want to carry out a bit of skullduggery, which I'm not necessarily against. But in case I need to remind you of what you said only 60 seconds ago, you don't do the sneaky shit.
Look, I've been to these camps before. They're darn sight easier to break out of than they are to break into.
It's true. First, I need some assurances that you have what you say you have.
Kind of look to get to Gesto. Just for approval, if nothing else.
I mean, I'd tell her, but don't look at me.
Look, we're pretty sure we can find the entrance to the cave. We've got an impression of how to get through the cave. I think we're good.
Pretty sure?
Look,
Why don't you tell me what we're looking for? You don't need to tell me everything. Although why I'd want to do it on my own when I can have you and your big spear for protection, I don't know. Just give me an idea so I don't know we're stumbling around in the dark.
stumbling around in the dark is exactly what we're going to be doing. There's a cave, as you're probably well aware, underneath Carvosti. At the far end of that cave, there is a gate. The gate has a lock, and the key to the lock, I believe, relates directly to that little rhyme you dangled in front of us so many months ago.
Tell me how the door works, and I'll tell you if my rhyme works.
If we're right, it's a grid of symbols. If it's the same as the one that we... There's too much guesswork here for what I'm telling you to be worth anything. We need to be under there. We need to see it.
Just out of information, are you intentionally lying to her?
No, I thought it was
Are
the
you
same.
mistaking the door on Yepheron for the door in Fria?
I am actually. Do you know what?
Yeah.
So it's animal. What was Yepheron again? Was animals?
It's like
wasn't it?
No, Yepheron was the symbols. Fria was like a sort of
It's like a
metallic
freeze.
bas relief. Yeah, like a metallic frieze or bas relief with kind of figures on it and objects and stuff that were like turnable.
Okay. Basically, we'll have the lock mechanism is basically a picture where we interact physically with depictions, icons, animals, objects.
All right. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. I have a rhyme. A mnemonic. If you know the word, I secured it off Bartho, which I think I probably already told you. From what you say, I am confident that this will work. Where are we going? You don't need to tell me the exact location of the gate, but roughly where is it?
Up the west coast. Not far.
Near the lake.
Near the lake.
Near the lake.
There's a
All right.
marker. We have the marker. Or we know the marker.
All right. And once we're inside, you think you know enough to get to where we're going, or at least to avoid any unpleasantness?
You're under the forest. Everything's unpleasant. I think we can get there alive. Maybe get back alive if we're very lucky.
All right. All right. So, I have 4 men here. One of them can't come. She gestures to the man with the wounded leg. The other 2 are relatively new hirelings. This one here, she points to a man at her side, has been with me for a number of years. I wish to take as many people as possible. Partly because it seems like it will be dangerous under there, and partly, I'll be honest, to try and give me some assurance that you won't take me through the gate, stab me in the back, and leave me bleeding under Carvosti. Is this acceptable to you? 3 more blades.
We would ask for the same assurances in return, but when you're looking for a city made of gold, you can't really trust anyone, I suppose.
That's true, and it's worth noting that your party significantly outnumbers mine.
That's true, and that's why I'm not averse to it, but maybe we thrash out the fine details once we've escaped this camp.
Very well. For my part, I would vote against any action that would get us more noticed. I'm of the opinion that sneaking out of this camp overnight, a very well guarded army camp with several ranger patrols around it at all times, is far more likely to get us noticed than just the band of you find somewhere to lay low until dawn and then we all just walk out.
Where are the sellswords camped?
Most of them are in the Narragor duchy camp. Narragor is the duchy that Thistlehold is in.
I think you're probably maybe not as noteworthy as us, but you're probably on a list. Could you have one of yours?
You don't need to worry about me. No one is going to know I'm here.
But what I'm asking is, could you pass words to my colleagues at their other table? Let them know.
You going to the Narragor camp?
I think we'll go to the Narragor camp. I think camping among sellswords is probably the safest thing we can do. I would say if they have a better option, we do not need to camp as one group.
All right then. She
Here.
leans over to...
Let me see if I can give some token to authenticate here. I'm going to check down. Hang on, I want to check and see if I have anything cool I could give. My enchanted bedroll.
Your completely unnoteworthy bronze spear.
Oh, I have the perfect thing. The tub of insect repellent.
Sure. Yeah.
Literal encryption. I love it.
Sure, yeah. One of Yosephia's hirelings looks at it a little bit puzzled and stands up and kind of wanders over in the direction of the others. De Gesto leans towards you and says in a voice quiet enough that no one else can hear it. So, we're sure about this then. This is the plan.
Absolutely not, De Gesto, but it might be the only plan.
All right. Well, we might as well eat and drink well tonight. Sleep relatively comfortably. I've got a feeling the next couple of days are going to be exciting. At the other table, Semel has just arrived with some drinks. and an individual you recognize as one of Yosefia's hirelings wanders quite casually over to the table and sort of half nudges into it as if drunk, and kind of steadies himself with one hand. And as the hand comes away, you can see that there's a pot of insect repellent on the table. Do we think we'd know that this is?
I
Yeah,
want to see everyone
John
feel this
has-
roll.
John has no memory of an insect repellent, but less time has passed for Arindar, I think. Probably.
Sure. Can we just have a refresher of where the insect repellent comes from?
It came from the on the boat over to the place. The delightful old man. I was having trouble with the insects, and he taught me and showed us how to make how to make a slightly more effective insect repellent.
Yeah,
So
I think
did
it's
we all
recent
use it?
enough.
I think we passed it around.
I
right?
imagine, I would have passed it around, and it's recent enough. I think it means something to you all. And he kind of like sort of stumbles as if drunk again, and leans over and goes, "Table the other side of the hawk." And then he, sorry, I forgot the name of the duchy a second. And then he says, "Your friend says to meet you at the Narragor camp. Stay the night there among the sellswords." I'm sorry. I've had a bit too much. And he just kind of like topples away into the crowd. It was quite a good performance, as perhaps you might expect from a somewhat dodgy individual. Semmel kind of looks down at the insect repellent and at the man going off and says, "This is all very conspiratorial."
It's how it has to be at the moment, unfortunately.
I think your other friend can come over to the table if she wants.
I guess we'll nod a Lindra over.
I know how I come across Ascribe, but this is what I do for a living.
Samuel, it's not you. We have a good deal of trust in you. We've worked together on a number of occasions. It's as a group, we are more known than we are as individuals.
Fair enough. Well, here's a drink anyway. Well, their drink, he'll say, 'cause also Revelia is there, right? And he'll just
Yeah.
put down 2 extra drinks and just give Alindra and Revelia a wave.
Thank you. Any news?
Well, firstly, Alindra, Revelia, this is Semmel. He is an old friend of ours. We do have some news, apparently, I suppose, from Steo to meet at the Narragor camp.
The Narragor camp? The place in this
Narragor.
entire encampment where we're most likely to be recognized.
I mean, that's the information we have. Narragor part of the camp.
Okay.
But, so, glad to see you made it in okay. I imagine the same goes for Steo.
He was with me, and then he went off looking for Degesto. I presume now that we're all here, Narragor's an interesting choice, but I presume that now that we're here, we probably want to find the quietest corner of this place that we can.
I think maybe thieving. It seems like Steo. Steo has sent word to. Did Matt? Did we recognize the person who bumped into our table as a friend of Yosefia? Okay.
Yes, he was the individual without the wounded leg.
Okay. that we met
back
before.
on Carvosti. Yes, correct.
It seems like Steo's made contact with Yosefia. So I don't see any reason for us to be in such a public place anymore. Perhaps we just head straight over there. I don't know what you think, Aaron.
I'll go. You finish up and I'll see you there. Or do
Before
we
you
want to all go?
perhaps moving about separately again would be a good idea. It seemed to serve us well on the way in. Have you noticed who's at the bar as well?
Oh. I ran into Harold earlier. I guess the whole Viara camp is here.
That would make sense.
You have to wonder if that includes Bath, though. I mean,
we have to work on the assumption that it does, and
Yeah.
we have to hope that we don't run into him.
This Bartho,
Because
black robe,
he's a
That's
man
him.
that needs to die.
dark. Oh my. Well, if you have violent intentions on him, you better start running. Took out of here like a scalded dog a few days ago.
Under the circumstances.
He'd been propping up the bar in here ever since I arrived. His lady over there. Half the camp saw him running out of the east gate, then off south. That's what I heard.
Interesting.
Does anyone have any idea why? I mean, it doesn't surprise me. He's a man who makes enemies very easily from
No,
our experience.
no one sharing rumors does, but it's not hard to imagine that Arella over there might have some idea.
We were pretty friendly with Arella, right? Like,
For what it's worth, yeah.
We saved her.
not as friendly as Bath, though, is with Arella. I think we'd rather her not know we're here.
Well, not if
Considering-
he's left her. If she's a spurned woman, she might.
Perhaps. But, I mean, if Bath has left, I think that's good enough for us for now.
we need to leave this thing alone right now. We need to concentrate on what we came in here for.
We
I'm
can
going to
deal
go
with
and try and find where the Narragor camp is. I'm going to try and find a way to get into the Narragor camp without being seen. And in a little while, perhaps come and try to find me. Okay. Elindra is going to essentially down her drink and walk off somewhere vaguely north. If there's anybody that looks like a kind of a guard or an officer that kind of knows their way around the camp, she will ask directions.
Well, you know what? There is, and one of those officers outside has the Thistlehold livery on, so you'd have to imagine they would know where the Narragor part of the camp is.
She doesn't do I recognize the guy?
No, you don't. You don't like recognize every soldier in Thistlehold or anything.
Sure,
so it's fine.
So I'll ask him to point out the vague direction of the Narragor camp.
He nods and says, "Aye, it's just strike out dead north. It's right at the northern end of the camp."
Thanks. Head off.
Okay, heads off. Okay, that entails going through the central part of the camp. Can you give me a discreet roll at +2, please?
Sure. At +2, that is just a pass.
Okay. I feel well. Who do we think will leave next? Do you think Steo? You seemed pretty intent on just getting the hell out of there.
Yeah, I think I'll get a dinner and maybe just kind of make nice with the guesto, but try and are his plans to camp with us, or has he got his own schemes going
Yeah,
on? I think he's going to be my
he seems to be, him and Malamai seem to be happy to go where you go.
Yeah, so we'll catch a dinner and then we'll head out. So maybe.
Okay. Well, there's no food in here, but there are definitely kind of vendors selling food out in that central part of the camp near the bonfire. So
Okay, I'll 1 pint, and then we'll head for the camp.
Sure, absolutely. Can you give me a discreet roll at +2 for moving through the central part of the camp and grabbing something to eat?
Dance
Nope,
18.
18.
Oh, why did we keep ending up in those games where you can't win unless you go combat and you really just want to play stealth? This is the opposite of that.
See, to me, this is. I was complaining about stealth in games not designed for stealth myself the other day, and yeah. So okay, Arindar and Askarai. I assume you. How long are you sharing a drink with Samel for?
I mean, if he keeps talking and we keep asking him question, I don't see any reason to immediately leave.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What time of day is it roughly?
It is probably by now about an hour after nightfall.
Okay. I mean, yeah,
It's
I
early
agree.
spring, so nightfall's relatively early.
Yeah, I think we'd be happy chatting to Semmel for a while. I think.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Well,
I
if you're
think
lurking, then you can give me a discreet roll, can't you?
We were going to have to do that anyway. It's fine. It's fine, Sam.
That's a 20. It's not fine.
Oh.
It's not fine, John.
I also failed,
Oh,
So
God.
but not a 20. Just a
We're gonna
normal
get
fail.
brutally murdered just chatting to Semmel.
My. Okay then.
Can we try and pry Semmel for I mean, we know he's here more or less on Iron Pact business, but for generally more information about what the Iron Pact is doing, thinking about the situation, what has sparked this war, any more information we can get out of Semmel, I think we'd be
he'll generally talk about it to you, and he's not going to give you any details that are what you think, at least partially, because he's genuinely doesn't know. He's basically sent to places to report back, right? That's what he was doing in Solindra's Hope. It's what he's doing here. And essentially, he gets the impression that there is, unsurprisingly, as Malahai said outside Faramaroon, there's a great deal of concern that in all this prodding and prying and gold rushing, all of you human idiots are actually going to find the way to Symbar. And maybe the human idiot wearing the crown is going to find her way to Symbar. And that's a whole different level of trouble.
Hmm.
And that's basically, he feels it's why he's been sent here, to keep an eye on the situation. Because it's at the stage where it might not even be able to be helped. But in that case, the more information that can be gathered, the better.
Do we get any sense? I mean, Semmel almost certainly doesn't know this, but maybe will say something that gives a sense of it. Do we get any sense that the elves might intervene on one side or the other of this conflict in Kavosti?
I would say you get the sense that, but kind of both the sense that Semmel definitely is not privy to that information, and if he was, he wouldn't tell you.
Okay, yeah, I think that's to be expected.
Maybe he might tell Stio, but we have not had the two encounter each other. So
yeah, I think that's to be expected and understandable. But still, we'd probably pry for that information over the course of a few things, regardless.
Yeah. Well, you don't get anything from him in that regard.
I might also try, and probably be unsuccessful, but to dance around getting him to name drop contacts, because I'm aware that there are arguing factions within the Iron Pact, and even though I only know the names of two or three elves,
can I just get ahead of this? Semmel is not going to tell either of you anything about the Iron Pact. You are neither of you members of the Iron Pact.
That is fair.
He is not going to give a secret organization information away to you.
Not again, anyway.
He didn't.
We burnt him once.
He didn't. He didn't know. He didn't give you any information about the Iron Pact. Even though he thought you were a member of the Iron Pact.
I mean,
So,
he told us that he wasn't getting like feedback from the Iron Pact while he was
but that's sure, but like
that's kind of normal.
That's a very different thing from saying, can I get the name of his contact and a breakdown of the politics of the Iron Pact from him? No.
Yeah, that's fair.
Absolutely. I think we'd probably Askra at least would see this as like, this is an evening off. I think Askra genuinely likes Semmel as a person to hang out with. Seems like a good guy, and would just shoot the shit about. There's a war. Things are going crazy. Like,
yeah, sure. Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And he will gladly do so and have a drink with an old friend. With that in mind, do we want to have you two progress out after bidding your farewell? As you stand up to go, Semmel kind of claps you on the arm and says, "Do make the right choice wherever you end up, Askray. There is more here at stake than politics between Ambria and the clans."
I'm doing my best, Semmel. The right choice is, it's not always clear to me, as I'm sure it's not always clear to you, but we're doing our best. I'm doing my best. I wish you the best of luck with all your efforts here, and I hope we'll see you again. Do you intend to return to Castor after hopefully this subsides?
I will go wherever I am sent, my friend.
We'll look for you wherever we are, and I'd see you again.
He raises his tankard at you and says, "Nevermore."
Nevermore.
He gives you a wry smile, as if almost kind of like daring you to say it back.
Askra will kind of take the ring out of his pocket and flip it like a coin, catch it and put it back in his pocket.
Oh, what a dick.
Semmel will give a chuckle and say, "One day maybe you'll even mean it." And turns around and disappears amongst the crowded individuals in the Hawk.
I suppose we better find a place to sleep for the night, Aaron.
Okay. In passing through the central camp to make your way up towards Naragor, can you both give me your discrete rolls, please? I'm being very generous with your scene length here, Askarai.
Yeah, I mean, I think Askra will be, if he needs to, will duck into a less occupied part of the camp and put his mask back on. But
sure, absolutely,
up to you.
Okay,
there's a pass.
It's a pass. So, as individuals, you all make your way to the Naragor part of the camp, which, as the officer indicated, is basically just straight north. As you enter into it, like, you start to get a definite sense of familiarity. You're familiar with like the livery and the heraldry of many of the soldiers here. You, the food being cooked in the camp has much more of a kind of clan folk feel to it than any of the other food you smelled in the other parts of the army camp in general. Naragor and Thistlehold especially are obviously very intricately linked with the clan folk at the edge of the forest, especially the Odavs, and that culture is kind of washed both ways. It does not take you long to notice the sellsword part of the camp, where no one is wearing any like uniform or livery or anything like that. there are definitely, for all of you, you will all notice before you proceed directly to the sellsword part of the camp, there are definitely individuals there from the agency. No one you maybe know by name or like by reputation at best, like Earthons isn't there, or anyone you know intimately. They are definitely people who would recognize you as members of the agency and probably as the people you are. You've probably got a reputation at the agency now. Whether that's a problem for you or not, you don't know. You don't know them, but they're definitely people you'd recognize you. They may be also be people who'd be quite discreet about that because you're all members of the agency, right? But I think Alindra reached the outskirts of there first. What would your choice be on whether to, actually go and set up a tent, your tent there?
So nobody. Well, we don't have any evidence that says that anybody from Thistlehold knows what we've been up to since we left Thistlehold.
No.
Except for this enormous camp. Like they.
Yeah, sure, but no. It's worth reiterating, the only people who have seemed to know that you're part of this gold rush are the other people on this gold rush and High Chiefs in Tharaban. Like all those people, and Bartho, who I guess is part of the gold rush, all those people are way more informed than the average sellsword mook from the agency.
Yeah. I still don't really, although there is a reasonable chance that like people from the agency and people from Thistlehold in general will be like friendly and well disposed. Linda doesn't want to run the risk of making any kind of scene, so she will be trying to find a way into the camp, to find some quiet empty corner of the camp to like pitch a tent, essentially, with space for other tents. Like she will actively try to avoid people if she can, although ninjaing about.
So maybe not somewhere like near the sellswords, but a bit further away and not as prominent.
Yeah, like out the back of the camp. Like if she can get around the agency people at the front. Hood up or whatever.
Reasonable. Well, why don't you? I mean, no one's going to stop you from doing that, But why don't you give me a cunning roll to see how well you can manage to be in an area that you think is
sure.
Just
flat cunning.
Yeah, flat cunning.
That's a pass.
Yeah, you know what? There's a little bit of open ground between, between the walls of the camp as a whole, and where all the sellswords have pitched their tents, and you find a bit of an open space, and yeah, you and Aurelia settle down there. But it's also a place that's quite easy. You think people looking for you at the sellsword with the sellswords will see you there, if that makes sense.
Yes,
you think the others will find you.
I don't know how distinctive like Elindra's tent is or whatever, but it's. I mean, the rest of the party will have seen it.
Yeah, the place you always at. And you know what? I'm going to skip over any kind of roll to find or anything like that. But you've made the cunning roll, means that pretty soon Steo turns up with Anton. And then quite a bit later, Arundar and Askarai show up with, still no sign of Degesto and Malamai, but you guess they're still drinking, maybe.
They're the least conspicuous of us anyway, so.
You are all there. And can I have, please, and now you are reunited, can I have a discrete roll with your previous buffs for just being in the Narrowgore camp, please?
Pass.
Steel pass.
Fail from me.
That's only one fail. And then can I have a discrete roll from all of you with no modifiers, apart from Askarai, who can take a +2?
Also pass.
20.
Yeah, that's a fail.
Okay. There we go. Right. Yeah, you all got. I'm assuming you're sharing all the information.
Yeah.
Such as it is. So the plan, presumably, is to camp down here, keep your heads down, wait until morning. Oh, Steele, by the way, Yosefia said basically crack of dawn outside the west gate. And then you just fuck off.
Did Yosefia say that she was headed for this camp as well at some point?
No.
No,
She
she
said
was just going to go to ground. And...
She said that you don't need to worry about her. No one will find her.
Okay.
No one's looking for her anyway, you don't think. So.
Okay, so we meet her at dawn at the west gate. Maybe for the sake of appearances, start heading back towards Thistlehold for 1/4 of a mile before peeling off west.
Absolutely. Okay. So we kind of like having some food and then kind of thinking about settling in for the night, sort of thing. Someone build a campfire, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, just basically low key, right?
Yeah. You know, it's quite a cold night, like I said, beginning of spring. So the campfire is feeling like a pleasant luxury. Can you all please give me a vigilant roll?
Pass.
17.
Okay. Aaron and Steo, let's say you are maybe cooking something by the fire together, and therefore not really paying any attention, and your night vision is probably for shit because you're looking directly at a campfire. Ascarai and Alindra, you definitely notice the relatively large group of soldiers who kind of stroll into the Narragor camp, mill around for a short amount of time, and then start heading straight in the direction of the sellsword group. They don't seem to be like they're definitely, you can't really make out the livery of them because it's dark, but they're definitely not wearing what most people are here, which is either the Thistlehold livery or livery of various Narragor nobles. And as they stride over closer to the sellsword, not towards you, but towards the sellsword group, one of them you can see kind of break away slightly, and as he strides closer through the darkness, you recognize him. He is quite tall, quite lean, almost sort of awkward in his movements, although you all know that is definitely not the case with a blade in his hand. And he walks over to kind of halfway between you and the sellswords and quite loudly says, "Oh my, what a treat! The clan folk will be quaking in their boots now that they know the heroes of the sinkhole are here." It is Captain Decamado, one of the Thistlehold Guard captains.
This fucking guy.
I hope I find you well on this brisk spring evening. The other soldiers have kind of very slowly moved in a group behind him. They're just standing around casually talking to each other, but they're definitely proximate to him.
Is he deliberately drawing attention to us, or is he just being oblivious and indiscreet?
He wasn't really loud, but he wasn't quiet either.
Okay. Just kind of nod in acknowledgement.
And we wish the same to you, sir.
Oh, it's definitely a better evening now. Now I know that your blades will be at our backs. Alongside us, I mean.
Well, we're sellswords and have yet to receive any coin, but we're waiting for an offer.
And an offer shall surely arrive, but you don't need to remain here with the other members of your fine agency, you are heroes of Thistlehold. The great and good of the camp will want to give you good coin to lead the charge, I'm sure. And you could do better for camping than here. Come, let me bring you to the inner camp.
This is fine.
Decamado, but before you frog marches into what I imagine is going to be a very comfortable interrogation, could you just let me know honestly, is Marvello okay? We know he went out. We don't know if he came back.
He is in good health.
That's all I needed to know.
Well, I tried to give a form of excuse. Come on. You're in no danger.
Steel is not resisting. I mean, I'm not starting a fight with like 27 Royal Guards. We're done. This is it. Game over.
You're in no danger, my fine fellows. But words need to be exchanged.
You are a courteous and polite gentleman.
He's not that courteous. I'm not a fellow.
That is a good point.
I think fellows are gender neutral in the world of Symbaroum.
Okay.
I think
She's
the woman of the
She's
party
still in a
is
bad
allowed
mood.
to make
Visibly
that
in a
decision.
bad mood.
Yeah. I think I'm actually going to make a genuine argument. No one cares, but I will make a genuine argument for this. In that fellows comes from a kind of root of companions and kind of with the intimation of like it's like soldiery, right? Like companions in battle and war. I think that's the root of where fellows comes from. And Ambria and indeed the clan folk, unlike many of our European medieval cultures, had no dividing line between the genders in terms of who would take part in armies and stuff. So I think in this world it's gender neutral.
Okay. If it's gender neutral in Ambria, then she won't say that, but she will be just visibly annoyed that
yeah, sure, yeah.
Like that Decamado is like attempting to exert jurisdiction over them when we're clearly a long way from Thistlehold.
Yeah. Okay.
I will.
But I mean, yeah. Obviously, I think we're all. He wasn't explicit in Wrath of the Warden, but I think we're all fairly company that perhaps Decamado's influence is not limited at the walls of Thistlehold. Is anyone going to attempt to resist or avoid this?
The Gesto's not with us, right?
He's not with you.
Joined us.
He's not with you.
I think Astro would pack up his stuff and get ready to follow Decamado.
Likewise.
Feel free to leave your belongings and tents here. You can, of course, return if you wish.
Yeah, Steel's just
taking everything.
Steel is not taking everything. Steel's just leaving all of the camping stuff behind and is taking his obviously has not left his armor yet and is bringing his spear.
Decamado kind of gives a bright smile and says, "Good stuff. Let's head to the inner camp, shall we?" Oh, I'm sure you will find much coin from many noble families. They will bid for your services, I'm sure, he says in a louder tone as you kind of move out of the Narragor camp and down to the south. The soldiers accompanying him fall in behind you, not in a unified marching fashion, but definitely as a group present behind you. You're led through the pathways of the camp by Decamado. He's talking in a loud and friendly fashion the whole way about the excellent prospects of sieging Carvosti, should it even be necessary. He takes you through the inner camp walls and along the pathways there to a somewhat out of the way large tent. It has no heraldry on it whatsoever. Outside there are a number of Queen's Rangers casually sat conversing, but with swords drawn across their laps and eyeing you cautiously as you walk past. Decamado walks to the tent flap and holds it up for you.
I think I'll try and be the one who goes in first because I'm really interested to see if Decamado's pulling the strings, or are we about to be introduced to someone a bit more spicy?
Sure, absolutely.
And
When you walk, go ahead.
I will follow along with a thankful nod to Decamado for holding the flap open like a gentleman.
Absolutely. Well, those of you who walk in first will be the first to see this. Inside is a large table and chairs. The table is set with what looks like very good food and drink. The only other individual in there is an older man. He's in the robes of an Ordo Magica master and is sat peeling an orange quite carefully. He has a completely bald head and a shaven face and a look of some concentration as he focuses on the task at hand. Decamado will close the flap behind you, step in, sort of sit, eat, make merry, as it were. He takes a seat on the other side of the table from the Ordo Magica master and immediately lifts a slice of what looks like maybe lamb and starts eating.
Steve will find a place to sit, but maybe looking a little bit more resigned than particularly adversarial.
Sure.
Elindra was,
Go
as
ahead.
Elindra sits down, sort of as if it's just a thing to get it out of her way so it's more comfortable to sit down. The sword will get drawn and kind of leant against the table next to her rather than in this, scabbard.
Sure. So. Decamado kind of looks at you doing that, looks up and gives you a warm smile before carrying on eating. Please introduce me to your companion. Your squire, perhaps?
This is Revelia. She's with us now.
You find yourself in august companionship, young lady.
I try.
Unfortunately,
Revelia is kind of
February.
looking around. Like, obviously, there's been no way to kind of communicate. She is looking super on edge.
Yeah, that's
fair.
Good.
I will take a seat at the table, bid good evening, sir, to the Ordo Magica gentleman. Whether or not he pays attention to me, it's the polite. And thank
He
Decamado. Good. Thank Decamado for his gracious invitation. And we'll take a token something from the table.
You are most welcome, Sadar. And I will would like to, very polite of you to greet our fellow guest. I don't believe any of you have met Grandmaster Seldonio. You've all heard of Grandmaster Seldonio. He is the Grand Master of the Ordo Magica.
Is that the head of the Ordo Magica?
Mm-hmm. He inclines his head to you all and gives you a tight smile. He seems to be slightly uncomfortable.
Pleasure to meet you, sir.
And likewise, Ambria, I'm sure, thanks you for your services in the north. Heard many good things.
Yes, well, we've done a good deal of work with your colleagues and have a mutual respect, I think.
And Cornelio has spoken highly of you. Well, pleasant evening of food and conversation awaits then. I am, of course, aware you are seeking Elmendra, and therefore Symbar. You did not, sadly, provide aid when requested to Captain Lindra at Fria Maroon, and that in general, you seem to be working, if not against the Crown, at least for your own aims. There is no law against that per se. I am, however, disappointed if this is so, because your work in securing the prophecy of Sarkamal was so competent and mutually beneficial. And obviously, your work in aiding Thistlehold won you admirers in high places. Perhaps even the highest of places. And I suppose, we're getting some very heavy typing, by the way. And I suppose what I have brought you here to inquire is I have a suspicion, friends. And that suspicion is that your intentions have always been to do the Queen's work of your own accord, free from oversight, before revealing yourselves as true Ambrian patriots as soon as you come close enough to your goal to not feed the Queen with false hope. This is my suspicion, and my dearest optimistic hope. And I suppose, friends, what I have gathered you here to ask is, this is the case, is it not?
Captain, I can honestly say that at no point have I intended to work against the Crown.
Of course not.
And that the well-being of the realm has been at the forefront of my mind throughout almost constantly for these past few weeks.
I would expect nothing less.
I would also say that perhaps how do I put this? If we I fear it may be too early to present anything to the Queen.
Of course, we wouldn't be having this conversation in this tent if it were not the case. But perhaps that has been your intention this entire time. Or perhaps it has not, and my fears are founded. But we would like to know. Let me be clear. You are all going to walk out of this tent and go about your business no matter what you respond. But given your work for the Crown's interests in the past, and what I know of your travails so far on this business, I just had to ask.
May we ask something?
Of course, we're all friends here.
If the siege is successful, and you take the top of Carvosti, what happens in the next 2-3 moons?
It will be secured with good Ambrian steel. The residence, I have it on good authority from the Queen, will have a choice to make. If they bow the knee to the Queen, swear fealty to Ambria, she will allow them to stay on Carvosti. This will, of course, be important to many of them. I believe it is a sacred location. Those who choose not to they will have to leave. And those at the forefront of the resistance to the Queen's rightful claim will probably find themselves in comfortable imprisonment. The High Chieftain, the Huldra, perhaps only until such time as they give the Queen the information she desires. And then, if all goes well, and that information is secured, I'm sure an expedition will start being prepared for.
And you're clearly a learned man, but also, I suspect, an informed man, and may I also suspect somewhat of a politician. Surely by now you know what caused the great cataclysm in Thistlehold, and specifically who dug that sinkhole.
I do not particularly see what this has to do with the matter at hand.
The sinkhole was, in a crude way, a means of retribution for the taking of Yndaros. A lot of people died in that hole. I wonder how many will die in the retribution for Carvosti. Good people too, not the barbarians.
What happened at Yndaros will not happen at Carvosti. The Queen does not wish to oversee another massacre. Carvosti is not our prize, Sergeant. Our prize is elsewhere. If the prophecy is to be fulfilled, then the Queen must know. And if the Queen must know, and no one can bring the information to her, then she must take it for herself. If the fate of the individuals upon Carvosti concerns you, if the fate of many of these soldiers and sellswords outside concerns you, for it will be a bloody business if they choose to resist, then I would advise that the best, most bloodless solution to the matter at hand is for someone to bring the Queen the information she needs. If she knows the location, there is no need to take Carvosti. There is no need to break down relations with the High Chieftain.
Are you aware of the group of Black Cloaks that have been to, if not all, the majority of the places that we have been to in the search for this information?
We are. Though the current location is unknown. I'll be honest, I had presumed that they had met their fates on Yephirim.
From our understanding, they are still alive. Perhaps one or two have perished along the way, but as a whole, we believe them to be alive and well, and assume that they would be reporting their progress to the Crown.
He gives you a faint smile but doesn't say anything. You are, of course, aware of at least two groups who were sent out by the Queen, both commanded by friends of yours, one of whom you sadly did not see fit to provide aid to at Fria, though she made her way back.
Surely you're not suggesting that Captain Lindra needs the help of a ragtag group of sellswords?
She certainly could have used it when the rest of her loyal rangers were torn apart at the hands of trolls.
It's a dangerous forest.
Which is perhaps precisely why a little bit of Ambrian patriotism and solidarity would have gone a long way, Sir Alindra.
Those rangers were killed, sadly, before we arrived. I have to say,
they weren't killed before you arrived.
Before we
arrived in exactly the same room.
Yeah. You would unlikely have been able to save them, but he doesn't seem to be like he's not holding that against you. He seems to have thought that maybe you should have helped Captain Lindra when she asked Anton.
I think
albeit in quite an aggressive way.
Ashko made the point that if we'd have been involved in the confrontation between the Rangers and the Trolls, I'm certain we could have helped them. As it was, we arrived after the Rangers and fairly easily dispatched with the Trolls, but it was too late.
Friends, this is I do not. Dangers that happen in the forest take the lives of Ambrians and others alike. We are not holding you accountable.
Then why are we having this conversation? Lindra and the Queen's Rangers, the Black Cloaks, who are also Ambrians, and doubtless other groups, have all been on the same treasure hunt as us.
Because we have faith in your ability to succeed. As I say, you have done sterling work in the past. And I simply wish to establish whether that work, the work you do now, is to the same cause as the Queen or not.
You have faith in our abilities, but not in our motivations. I understand.
It's not the same. It's not that I do not have faith in your motivations. If you recall from earlier in the conversation, I said I had suspicions that this had been your intention this entire time. I simply wish to verify, because I do not go over my own head based on my suspicions, but instead with verified facts. As the Grand Master can tell you, we are here simply to establish what your intentions are. If they are, as I hope, that you will bring this information, this location back for the Queen, therefore ensuring that a bloodshed need not happen on Karvosti and the Queen can satisfy the terms of the prophecy as laid down by Sarkamal, then I will be overjoyed. And if perhaps that is not your intentions, it is a sad day. But of course, we will let you go on your way. I just need to know.
My priority, I suppose, I can't speak for everyone, has always been the safety and integrity of the Ambrian people, and by extension, the realm. As Aaron mentioned, we were hoping to get a little closer. But maybe we talk this over among ourselves and come back to you with a decision.
No, I think I will need to know now. Tonight.
And what do you want to know? Quantitatively.
Should you locate the precise location of the lost city of Symbar in the dwellings under Karvosti, whether you will bring that information back for the crown?
and you would not allow us to discuss that at all as a group.
That discussion needs to be had. If you are not aligned on it,
I think, as you can surely understand, we are not like ourselves a employee of the crown. We support ourselves through our efforts here. Surely you could understand that some price would be put on this information from our perspective.
I understand, Master Ascarai. I just perhaps naively had hoped, as I say, that this had been your intention this entire time. Regardless, the Grand Master and I eat, drink. We will return in an hour. This tent is no prison. If you wish to leave, I suppose I will have my answer. But I hope that you will remain and we can discuss the decision you have come to so that everyone understands ramifications. An hour. He stands up and walks out. Sildonio kind of stands up to follow him and sort of walks to the tent flap at the door and kind of peers round back at you all and says, I know how this can come across, but you have to understand there are many, many conflicting aspects to what is happening here. Each time you light a candle, you also create a shadow. He ducks out of the tent, and I don't think we're going to cover this conversation at the end of this session without it going way over time. So I think we will wrap the stream there, folks. Thank you for joining us, both players and audience. If you want to sling any comments or questions in chat, we will address them. In the meantime, let me close with our promo stuff. Down below, there's links: YouTube, Twitch. We're on both those sites. Please check us out. We stream live on Twitch. If you're watching us right now, you know that. And all of our streams go onto YouTube to form a vast library of actual play goodness. There are also links to our Discord, our Patreon, our social media. Get involved with those if those are things that interest you. We run weekly games on Mondays and Wednesdays at the moment. That's Vason on Mondays and this, Symbaroum on Wednesdays. We also have a fortnightly campaign of Wicked Ones going on Thursdays. That will be joined sometime in November, probably by the returning Big Wet. We also have one-shots around once a month or so, the next one of which is on Sunday, November the 12th, which is me running Grok, which is a lovely indie TTRPG. I think that's everything. Thank you to everyone today who's wished us a happy affiliate anniversary. We had no idea it was happening, but we are grateful nonetheless. And thank you for the follow. I don't know if this have been caught by Wicked Ones. Maybe I'll say it anyway. They have it twice. Thank you to Arlad for your follow. Yeah, John, do you want to fling those comments and questions up for us so we can address them? Yeah, Steve, interesting dialogue wheel choice coming up. Yep, essentially. Well, there's also the option to just fucking lie, I suppose. But yeah.
Oh, that's exactly why we asked them to step out, right? So that we can formulate that plan. What's the fucking lie going to be, guys?
Get our story straight.
I mean, I do not believe that we are having this hour completely to ourselves with no eavesdropping.
Yeah, I'm that paranoid.
I mean, it is an interesting thing, though. I think it is like, it's one of the things that I hope it has actively provided a genuine moral quandary, in that I think you came into this with the notion of like, the Queen just wants it for, we don't want that, we don't want anyone taking it, blah, 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 blah. And like, now that you're in this situation, like, honestly, I'd like a show of hands on who thought, oh shit, like, if we give it to the Queen, there might actually like be saving a lot of lives. right? Yeah. So like
Yep.
all of a sudden this is like, oh yeah, shit.
I think
there
it's
is more of a
definitely
factor to that.
it's definitely an argument that's going to come up that, like, you know, if we can give this information and prevent a war, is that better or worse than giving access to Simba to the Queen?
Yeah.
Like, I don't
How
think
ma-
we know, but we have to make a judgment call on that front.
Yeah, it's how many people are gonna die on and around Carvosti in the next few days versus how many people would die in a wider conflict in which Ambria is plunging into the forest searching for Simba.
I mean, it is one of the things that's worth saying as well. Obviously, there's a veneer in this of like being cynical and like, for those of us of our particular maybe age, a certain, you know, like kind of anti-monarchy bent that we bring to our character, can't help but bring to our characters. It's worth noting the Queen is absolutely venerated by the people of Ambria, and like even like obviously it's up to Chris how his character interprets these things, but as a veteran of the war against the Dark Lords, like there's probably some part of Steo that holds the Queen in very high esteem. She kind of carried the Ambrian peoples through that conflict and to relative safety to the north of the Titans. Like, even if it's like, oh, people shouldn't go into Davokar, there is got to be some level of like the Queen is a kind of a sacrosanct figure within Ambria. So
Yeah,
but it's up to you how
we're not
how
playing like anarchists, are we? Like,
no, exactly. So there's a lot to this. I genuinely think there's a lot to this, and I don't even think I necessarily understood how much there was to it until I wrote the prep for this session, and I was like, oh shit, this is actually way more complex than just we don't want any Ambrians to have it. They'll go unleash some horror in Davokar, but like then there's more. Oh, but also there literally might be about to be a horribly bloody conflict that could be entirely negated.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is, I think Decomator sounds extremely confident of them winning, in which case they're kind of gonna get this information anyway. But just with like way more people dying.
I can tell you right now, and we'll probably reiterate it next session. Unless a great deal more troops arrived to support the High Chieftain between the last time you were here and now, even the fact that Carvosti is extremely hard to assault, you saw people setting up trebuchets last week on the outskirts of the like. Oh, it will be difficult, but from what you've seen, the Ambrian army vastly outnumbers the clan folk on the plateau.
I think there's also an interesting thing in Aaron's head as well, of like, sure, Ambria has fallen out of, you know, people fleeing Alberator, and that war against darkness didn't go so good. But if there is anyone in Ambria who is going to have surely the ability to fight back the forces of darkness that would be in Symbar, it would be Queen Corinthia, right?
It may be Queen Corinthia Nightbane. For all you know. Ambrian propaganda would certainly tell you. Yeah.
And I'm sure her previous...
Who's to say she isn't the actual prophesied ruler of... You don't know.
And I'm sure her previous brush with darkness wouldn't have had any sort of corrupting or maddening influence on her whatsoever.
Probably not. Seems unlikely, right?
I'm also 100% sure that it's actually Queen Corinthia under that alabaster mask and not one of 20,000 other potential political movers and shakers.
Who knows? Let's move on to the next question. We've got comments. We've got some good ones. Soon, I want to go back to the cursed island of the eternally restless dead where the many-faced toad god dwells. It's less scary than dinner in this tent. Yeah, for sure.
Genuinely, I think that's the...
How do I put this? Fuck the Queen. Yeah. I mean, you can tell Decomator that if you want. I
think this might be the scariest moment of the campaign, though, legit. Like, you know, we've had some horrific fights. Yeah.
This feels like a definite point of no return in a Like,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
save. Yeah, this is a
Yeah,
save.
this
is
Yeah.
this is the
forgot-
part where
no,
yeah.
we didn't save
Shout
it.
out
Camp.
I mean, shout out to you, Aaron, for some of the best kind of noble parlance insults I have heard in quite some time.
Was I insulting?
Yeah, I think you were to Decamato. You were like, you are a very well-voiced person. I think you were a very. What was it you were saying at the camp? But it was just a literal like, this is as nice as I can be to you, but we know
Oh,
what you
no,
are. You
I
snake.
wasn't trying to be insulting. I was trying to remind him, you're a civil person. I'm a civil person. Don't stab us. That's why I was like, here is a meal. Thank you for this meal. I will accept your hospitality. Now
Yeah.
you can't kill us.
I did
I
really
don't believe he's noble, but it's still that sort of nobility. We are a guest. It's really bad form to assassinate us now. Kind of.
I really liked Aaron's dancing around our motivations in that conversation, because you didn't say anything untrue.
Yeah, and I thought like I can imagine
was-
like your characters like almost thinking maybe we can just front this out by saying, yes, we want only the best for the Ambrian people, and just the conversation narrows and narrows and narrows until Decamato is like, yeah, so are you giving it to the Queen?
So tune in.
He's better at this than you are.
Yeah.
It was a valiant attempt, though. I thought
It was a valiant attempt, absolutely.
So, I mean, tune in next week for what is probably going to be 2 hours worth of Star Trek V, The Undiscovered Country-esque sitting around a dinner table debating stuff.
Absolutely.
It does feel like it's going to be the anti-combat session next week, where it's just 2 hours of pure talking.
2 hours of debate. Why couldn't Legolas just surf into Mordor? Well, quite. I nimbly avoided it, but like if people want me to do a stream where I just explain why the Eagles couldn't just fly into Mordor, then please do let me know and I will. We were talking about the Peter Jackson movies, and you know what? Here's a lovely little thing that a lot of people won't have noticed, right? To do with Eagles, right? And Mordor, but not why didn't the Eagles just fly to Mordor? But here's a lovely little thing, a lovely little Easter egg put in everyone's brains before we answer the last question and like stuff. At the very end, when the Eagles come to rescue Frodo and Sam, right? Do you remember that? And they kind of fly through the smoke and
they're talking about
how many Eagles are? Yes. No, they talk about. Don't they talk about strawberries? I'm pretty sure they talk about strawberries at the. I can't carry the ring, but I can carry you anyway. The line in that part is, "I'm glad to be here with you here at the end of all things." But anyway, I've watched those too much and read them too much. How many Eagles are flying to rescue them?
3.
Do you know why there's a third?
Smeagol?
Because Gandalf thought maybe he'd be rescuing Smeagol as well.
Oh,
Smeagol's eagle.
Smeagol's eagle. Put it on a
Because
t-shirt. Oh my god!
Because there was a chance that Smeagol could have done the right thing.
Brutal. Poor Smeagol.
I mean, kind of did, especially in the book, right? Like the ring wouldn't have been destroyed without Smeagol.
I mean, he did the wrong thing, but
in the right way
to counteract Frodo's wrong thing.
Yeah, he capered into the lava. Anyway, 0 and 120. Random question to the players: what are your character's greatest fears? As we always do with these kind of things, I will randomize the answers. And I rolled John, but John will probably ask for us to come back to him. John.
I actually know what Aaron's greatest fear is. I get Aaron's greatest fear is he has this probably largely imaginary notion of House Dar as told to him as a child and what his father would have wanted. His father completely did not care about being Lord Dar. He was only Lord Dar in title for a very short amount of time. But Aaron is absolutely terrified of not living up to the legacy that he's
He's
probably
imagined
mostly
for-
invented.
Sure. Yeah. And presumably also Farron getting nearly killed for the 27th
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
27th time, yeah.
Okay. Stephen.
So the glib answer is just like exactly the kind of diplomacy that's happening in this tent is way out of Elindra's comfort zone. But I think on a deeper level, it's probably the idea that the Knights of Dead Prios might be right, not because she's scared that Prios is dead, but because if he is, that means that the dark forces in Alberator are boundless in their power.
There's no light of Prios to oppose them.
Yeah. So she's of an age that she came to Ambria as like a kid, or maybe like a baby, or maybe a toddler. Like
born there, or yeah.
There's some.
How old is she?
She's like early 20s, so I think she may have formed some memories before.
Yeah, the first people crossing the Titans were 23 years ago. So
the first people. Yeah. So she like okay. So
year 0 is when the first groups of Ambrians started coming across the Titans, and also when the Dark Lords were defeated by the Queen and her.
I figure she was born in Alberator, but she was like
she has no memory of that.
She's very young.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair enough. We will go with Sam.
I don't know if Astra is like fully aware of what his greatest fear is, but I think it will be along the lines of being like rejected from or like excluded from Ambria or Ambrian society in the way that he feels he is from barbarian society, while also not having his group. And that is partly coming to fruition at the moment if we end up becoming enemies of the crown and enemies of the barbarian clans, and then just like not having a place to exist. That it's not just like literally everyone is like, you're not welcome here, we're gonna try and kill you, like we're gonna try and imprison or murder you on sight. I think that is Askrai's greatest fear, like not having a way out of this like world in which he's looking for a place that he can be like relatively safe, relatively at peace, and is struggling to find it, and is that like opportunity is rapidly narrowing for him.
I would like to bring up some of the words of High Chieftain Tharaban at this point, who obliquely requested that you bring the information to him as well as to whoever else you bring it to. So Tharaban did not demand exclusivity. I'll just put it there. You're pretty sure the Queen would. But there we go. Chris, what's Steo's greatest fear? And has he already lived through it 1,000 times over in his time in Alberator?
You've stolen my bit. That was the bit I was going to do. Literally, the bit was there. I'd prepared a spiel. I was ready to go, and you just stole my bit. Yes, Steo knows no fear. Steo's greatest fear is in his past. He's already lost everything. So
Steo's greatest fear is seeing the eyes of a lifelong friend turn white and blank before they reach for his throat with crumbling, rotten fingers. So he's running on empty as far as fear is concerned, right?
Yeah, I think I do need to do a better job of unlocking more of Steo's kind of actual trauma, but I might have to do some reading to figure out how to do that correctly.
There's definitely, I'll say this, it's no spoiler because you've seen the titles of the different books that have come out. It might be a great idea to do that by volume 5, right?
Yeah.
Given you know where it goes. So there we go. There we go. And I think we do have a question just from our lad who followed us recently. What's this based on? We were talking about Lord of the Rings quite a bit, but Symbaroum is its own fantasy property from Free League. But
We're just
It's
the
got
kind of
books, but
nerds
they're in
that-
Swedish.
Yes. It
Oh
does.
yeah.
Yeah. There are Symbaroum novels, but they are in Swedish. They haven't
And in
been
fairness,
translated.
it's originally designed as a narrative to be played through the game system rather than as a book. It's the book of the game rather than the game of the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They're not like Symbaroum isn't based on the books. They're books that are written of the game, which is something that tended to happen a lot in the 90s and doesn't so much anymore, but they have done it. So, yeah, there we go.
Rip to
Cool.
our good friend Dritz Duerden.
Nice. Yeah, cool. So thank you very much for watching and participating, folks. And yeah, we will see you again next week for more Symbaroum. Also, Vason returns on Monday, so check that out too. Take care, stay safe. Goodbye. Bye.